And welcome to another, I want to say episode, but it's not episode. I want to say, what is the word I'm looking for, Andy?
Session?
Session. That's it. Welcome to another session of Reclaim Open
Therapy?
2025. It's therapy. And this is, I guess I'm kind of blanking on this one because the title of this one, let me just get this right, Mr. Rush, is A Media Empire of One's Own. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, I'm going to let this session happen, but my lawyers will be in contact with you after to talk about, certain branding, marketing issues that Reclaim Hosting might have.
Sure. I toyed with the idea of shortening the acronym to MEOW. It kind of works, but I don't think I'm going to trademark that. So you're good.
Well, look, I am absolutely thrilled to introduce our next speaker, which is Andy Rush, an old friend, an old colleague, and he'll be here talking about his excitement and his vision for a federated web that can kind of bring in an open source tinge to it. So without further ado, Andy, I think you and I should get this going. Do you agree?
I agree. I'm all for it. All right, so a media empire of one's own, a federated approach. This is kind of to answer the question of why a personal media site might be relevant in these times. So a federated approach. What are we talking about when we're talking about a federated approach? Basically, what I'll do is talk about federated services, and that specific service is PeerTube, something that you may or may not have heard of. But what PeerTube allows us to do, it and the Fediverse is kind of like a digital and a decentralized media management tool. Okay. What do we mean by decentralized media? Well, basically, it allows you to control your data, control the hosting, control the distribution, even control the algorithms, which you don't get a chance to do with something like PeerTube. And it's going to empower individuals to kind of help in that idea of community building. And also, federated services are going to kind of enable control over your subscriptions, your followers, your notifications, and basically allow you to balance community engagement with individual autonomy. Okay. When it comes to YouTube versus PeerTube, everyone knows YouTube at this point. It's one of the most popular ways, essentially, to watch television. But YouTube and slash Google, they control the terms of service. With something like PeerTube, you can have your own terms of service. Okay. In this presentation, I'm also going to be emphasizing the power of WordPress. Okay. So that's what we can look forward to. But what I do want to do is start with a demo. And this is going to be fairly simple. It's going to be going to my PeerTube, what we call instance. Okay. And you'll see that there's already some videos here. I just simply want to upload a video. Okay. I'll show you that it's as easy as uploading a video to YouTube. So I'm going to go over here to publish. I'm going to select the file to upload. And I'm going to choose this one here and click upload. And so in the background, it's going to send the file there. In the meantime, what I can do is type in some information, some metadata, if you will. And it's just, a basic description is, this is a time lapse, if I spell it right, of a UNF, that's University of North Florida, bus stop. Okay. I can type in some tags. Let's do Reclaim Open 2025. And for a thumbnail, I won't worry about that right now. I'm just going to take the default thumbnail that it gives me. For privacy, I can choose it here, but I'm going to choose public. For the license, I'll just do kind of a basic attribution. For the category, I'm going to be lofty and say education. And for language, we can go in and choose English. Okay. And that's it. I'm going to click on save. It should be transcoding in the background. I'm going to go to the main page here, and it may not show up right away. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that was relatively quick. So that's how easy it is to upload a video. It's a short, small video. And if I go into that page, you'll see it playing in the background. Okay? So that is our first demo. You can look forward to a second demo a little bit later on. All right. Also, by the way, this is a WordPress presentation, and it's using the technology known as reveal.js. And that is something that allows you to present from the web. So that's kind of what I'm utilizing here, okay? And I'm just kind of catching up with my notes here. So let's talk about the Fediverse, okay? It's the backbone of what we're doing here with PeerTube, all right? The Fediverse includes things like PeerTube, but it also includes things like Mastodon, which is a replacement or an alternative for what I call X-Twitter. PeerTube, again, is a replacement for YouTube. There's a service called PixelFed, which is a replacement for Instagram. There's a new service called Loops, which is a replacement for TikTok. All of these services use something called, or a protocol called, ActivityPub. Okay, so what is the Fediverse? Again, you can watch this presentation on the web. I'll give you the link at the end of the presentation. You can watch this video. It's kind of a cute little video with cats and dogs, but it does a good job of describing what the Fediverse here is. Okay, PeerTube. Okay, what is PeerTube? Again, there's a video that will describe what PeerTube is. It's with a guy with a French accent, so it's kind of interesting. It is a kind of developers are based in France. But again, this video will kind of describe what PeerTube is, and it uses this thing called peer-to-peer technology, which we'll talk about maybe in another section. Okay, so hosting PeerTube, and the way that I host my PeerTube, the AndyTube website that you saw, is with a company called FediHost. How do you use PeerTube? There's a link here on this particular slide that links, ironically enough, to a YouTube video, but it's a great demo of how to install a PeerTube instance using FediHost. So it does a really good job with that. I can't, at this point, I can't do any better than what this person did. Okay. Hosting PeerTube with FediHost. Gripped with fear. What does that mean? Why was, after using FediHost and PeerTube on FediHost, why was I at some point stricken with fear? I'm going to leave you hanging to answer that question. And what I'd like to do now is I'm going to have a little interlude with the folks or the folk at Reclaim Hosting, and they're going to talk a little bit about their experience with PeerTube and other federated hosting services. So Reclaim Hosting, take it away.
Thank you very much, Andy Rush. You know, I always want to talk, and so I appreciate you allowing me to. I mean, the idea of this presentation when you came to us was, you know, you have been exploring the Fediverse, and you've been exploring different applications to kind of reproduce some of what we all have gotten tired with the centralized kind of big players. And Reclaim early on, I think Tim actually set this up several years ago. We set up PeerTube in order to take all of the videos we had on YouTube and back them up. And one of the really nice things that PeerTube had early on was the YouTube DL app script, which would essentially let you take everything seamlessly from YouTube and pull it into PeerTube. So you could create a clone of your PeerTube account, which is useful in case, someone gets very aggressive with their takeovers. So that's how we started. But let me actually share what we have going on right now. So this is Reclaim Hosting's PeerTube instance. It's Reclaim TV. And so we have it set up. So everything we stream goes to a couple of places. Let me show you what that looks like. And you're going to see a little bit of like, oh my God, it's us. We're as a, here we go. This is us on Reclaim TV right now. This is a technical glitch, just to be clear. But Reclaim TV is managed through Owncast. So we have an instance of Owncast that Taylor Jaden hacked and allowed us to basically not only have the stuff playing live, but have a list of everything we have in our PeerTube show up as a list of recent videos that we've had in our instance. Now, how are we doing that? We're sending everything when we stream, and I'm going to enter this studio right now. When we stream, this is a blank instance of StreamYard. We have things going directly to Reclaim Hosting's YouTube, which is right here. And let me just hide that. Let me hide this Reclaim Hosting icon so you can see it. So right here is YouTube. Right here is our archive. So we're streaming directly to YouTube, and that's usually the stream we use. We're streaming another instance to our PeerTube as a backup in case anything happens to our YouTube. And then we're streaming directly to Owncast, which is actually where we send people for Reclaim.tv to see it. So, Owncast is kind of our TV station, and the other two are our two archives, one live and one to directly to PeerTube. So how we're using PeerTube essentially is a clone backup of all of our videos. So everything we have in YouTube, we ultimately have in PeerTube, and we use YouTube, for example, Reclaim Open. For those streams, and I'll show you it right now, we have scheduled and pre-scheduled all the streams for Reclaim Open. So, oh, God damn this thing. All right. So look, here is our streams in YouTube. And then here is our live. And you'll see we have a whole bunch of pre-scheduled live sessions, which are going to be on next week for our sessions that are going to go to YouTube directly. But they will be immediately backed up to PeerTube. Now, I think one of the bigger questions, I don't know if that made sense, but hopefully it did. But the big question you probably want to ask, and other people might ask, is how do I host PeerTube on Reclaim Hosting? In fact, are you hosting PeerTube on Reclaim Hosting, Andy Rush?
Currently, I am not. I would not mind being associated with Reclaim Hosting folks. So you let me know if that's possible.
Well, there is a reason why it's probably not ideal for most. Right now, if you install PeerTube on Reclaim Hosting, you would do it as a Docker container. And we don't have a kind of sturdy installer that will automatically update and do some of the trickier pieces that are command line driven often in the Docker container. So if you're comfortable with Docker and running your own instances like that, Reclaim is a great option, and it gives you some more control, maybe that you get something than you do in FediHost. But if you're not, I would still recommend FediHost at the point. Taylor and I have been talking about options to make it more bulletproof, if you will, and simpler. But right now, it's not. It just doesn't seem to provide the simplicity, even the speed to some degree. Like, I saw how fast your video uploaded, transcoded in FediHost, and that was impressive. And you're paying, I don't think, very much money monthly to run this. And also you're not running a full-blown TV station as of yet. So storage would always be a question. And that would be where Reclaim could be useful and cheaper. But I think with PeerTube, it's a little bit of a matter of scale and how much you want to scale. But FediHost sounds like it's a really good solution for a one-off single instance, at least for the moment.
Awesome.
Is
All
that
right.
is that a good
Absolutely.
interlude for you?
That is the most perfect interlude.
Well
It
then,
is exactly what I was looking for.
and back to the
I
main
knew you
show,
would
people.
deliver. Back to the main show. Okay. So let's get back to the fear. Jim gave us some good ideas and possibilities with PeerTube. What is the fear that I'm talking about? What I left you on the cliff's edge. Um, so specifically, it's the storage costs. So with FediHost, what I pay monthly is $7 a month, and that is to host my videos and have the storage of the videos. But the storage costs are the thing that I'm going to be worrying about because, as you'll see in this particular table, this is the structure of specifically the storage plans that you can upgrade your FediHost account to. So I pay $7 a month and I get essentially 30 gigabytes of space. Now it says 10 additional. You start with 20, you add 10, you get 30. Okay. If I need more space, I can add an additional 35 gigabytes for $6 extra a month. So for $13, I'll get 35 gigabytes. You can start to think like gigabytes of storage and video, that might not last very long. And as you go up, if you need 100 gigabytes, if you need 300 gigabytes, the storage costs start to go up and up and up. Okay. So that's where the fear came in. All right. Now, what happened was, and what this whole presentation kind of is alluding to, is that there's almost an a la carte way of putting together your media empire. And me being a big WordPress guy, I started to ask all the what if questions. Okay. What if I used WordPress in some way? WordPress is generally good about video support. You know, it has embedding features, and you can embed YouTube and Vimeo, and even self-hosted sources. Now, you don't want to host your videos or put your videos in your WordPress installation. It just isn't meant to be a streaming media service. So you have to generally use something outside of your WordPress install. So you could use something like video galleries, a video gallery plugin specifically, so that you can bring in YouTube videos or other types of videos. WordPress can also be federated. It can be part of the Fediverse. All right, it'll use the ActivityPub protocol with the ActivityPub plugin and give you those abilities. Okay, so WordPress is possibly a good candidate. So, should I set up my own federated video media site? Yes, no, maybe. Um, it really depends on your experience with WordPress. If you haven't gone much kind of into the back end, and I'll define what I mean by that. I don't do a whole lot of what's called PHP coding, which is the stuff that's behind WordPress. I can fake it if I need to, but that starts to get a little bit dangerous when you start to mess with PHP files in WordPress. So forget I even mentioned PHP if that scares you. You may want to dip your toes into the unfamiliar technology pool. There are things that you're going to start to get into that you'll say, oh, I need to do this and this and this in WordPress in order to get something that is kind of a clone of a YouTube website or a YouTube delivery or PeerTube delivery system of media. Okay. And are you ready to really control your media? That's kind of, how brave are you? All right. So it's time for demo number 2. I talked about WordPress. Funny enough, I've created a WordPress site, and it's called Andy's Video Pub. And this is a place where I've been putting videos for the past few months. And I just uploaded a video this morning. So I can do screencasts. This is the Media Empire trailer. I encourage you to watch that if you haven't already. It kind of describes what this session is all about. But what I want to do is I want to upload a video here. So I'm going to click on New. I'm going to choose video because that's a specific, what's called a custom post type that I'm going to use. So this is going to be called Lunchtime time lapse. I won't put the date, but there's going to be a date associated with this. And the next thing that I want to do is you'll notice it gives you that prompt type of slash. I am going to use the plugin that I've installed. It's called bunny.net. Don't laugh. But what it allows me to do is upload the video in this interface. Okay, I need to choose a library that I've set up previously. So I'm going to choose this one called Video Andy Rush. And ultimately, what we want to get is a video ID. But since we haven't uploaded anything, we don't have a video ID yet. So I'm going to click on the upload button. And I'm going to find this video here. Again, it's 37 megabytes. It shouldn't take long, but it may take a while to do all the transcoding and that sort of thing. But I'll click on upload. You'll see it uploading in the background. Okay. I also want to get the duration of this, and it's only 15 seconds long. And this is a time lapse at UNF bus stop. Okay. One of the things that you also need to do is set a featured image. Otherwise, it'll give you a default image. So I'll do that at a later time, just for the sake of time here. I do want to make sure that I go down and I choose a category. So I'm going to choose time lapse as my category, and I'm also going to use a tag or two. I'll use UNF, and I'll also use Reclaim Open 2025. Okay, and that should be all I need. So I'm going to click on publish. It's doing the saving. I'll click on view video and see whether it's available yet. And sure enough, all of that stuff happened fast and it delivered the video. I can click on it and play it in line, and there it is. So this is my personal YouTube, if you will. All right. And as you scroll down, you see the information about when it was published, the duration, the time lapse. I'm hoping in the future there'll be some way to bring in that metadata automatically and bring in thumbnails of videos automatically, but we'll see how that works. All right. There's our tags. So this stuff is kind of, ready for the web. It's also going to be ready for the Fediverse, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so let's switch back to our slides. So that was demo number 2. Let me get back to my notes. I want to make sure I say all the stuff that I need to. All right, but let's talk CDNs. All right, CDN, Content Delivery Network. And what are we going to use for our content delivery network? It's a system or a service called bunny.net. Okay, and there just so happens to be a WordPress plugin, a WordPress CDN plugin for bunny.net. All right, so this is the key to the empire. All right, and bunny.net is the CDN for the rest of us. Okay, I'll stop. But what about those storage costs? What about that fear that I had before? And how long does $10 last? And what the heck does that mean? So to give you an idea of what I've dealt with in the past with that fear is, okay, how much is it going to cost if I start uploading gobs and gobs of videos? Back in May, I did what's called a recharge, and this would be the case with any CDN that you use. You recharge using your credit card to put more money in your account, and I put $10 in May. Okay, and you'll notice the service called Bunny Stream. These are the prices that you see that you'll be paying. So the transcoding is free. It'll transcode to whatever different resolutions that you've selected. It'll do that for free. It even has a transcription service of 10 cents a minute. You could do this outside and upload your subtitles or transcriptions. Storage is a penny per gigabyte. So it literally is pennies for the storage. And for the CDN, in terms of bandwidth, it's half a penny per gigabyte. So pretty inexpensive. So at this point, $10, I'm going to switch to my account, my billing account. So $10 that I recharged in May we're now at $4.87. And here's the bill, the monthly bill, and I'll reload a new version in a second, or later. These are the billing records. So basically, you're charged a minimum of $1 a month. Okay, very inexpensive. I've got $4.87 left in my account from May, which I think is pretty good. All right, so what if you don't want to go this route? Because it does mean installing the bunny.net plugin and establishing a bunny.net account. What I've used for the video pages is what's called a custom post type. And I've installed lots of other plugins to allow me to do some things to make it more and more YouTube/PeerTube-like. If you want to stop short of that, you can use what's called a video gallery plugin. And the one that I recommend is called All-in-One Video Gallery. Okay, so this might be a place where you start. And if you look in the background, faintly in the background of the slide, you'll notice that there's self-hosted video, there's external video, there's YouTube video, there's Vimeo, there's Dailymotion, lots of different ways to kind of upload or have your videos available. So you definitely don't want to upload to WordPress to do this. It's rather plain. It doesn't use what's called the block editor. It uses the more classic way. So you don't have the fancification that you may want to have. You can get CDN integration, and specifically it does support bunny.net, but you need to get the premium version of the plugin, which is $5 a month. Okay, so that's an option though if you want to kind of dip your toes before going full CDN. All right. One thing I do want to mention is RSS. Now, everything that I've done on AndyTube, the FediHost PeerTube instance, and Andy's video pub, all that stuff has an RSS feed associated with it. Okay, you'll see the link here for the video pub feed for RSS. So if you want to copy that and put that into your feed reader, you'll get notified when Andy Rush or the Andy Video Pub publishes videos. Okay, so that stuff works pretty well. There's other possibilities that people are working on for subscriptions. And I'll talk a little bit more about RSS and in my conclusions of all this. But smarter people are going to figure that stuff out. So people like Dave Weiner, Matthias Pfefferly, Evan Pradramu, they're all WordPress developers or programmers, and they're getting into some of those conversations, and I look forward to seeing what they come up with. Okay, so let's get right down to it. We've gotten rid of YouTube for the most part. What's the PeerTube versus WordPress kind of equation? PeerTube, every PeerTube instance you see, it's going to look really similar. There's either a light or a dark version. You can do some things with logos and move things around and write in text in different pages, but it's going to look pretty similar. Whereas WordPress is almost infinitely customizable. PeerTube is easier to set up and subscriptions are easy. And that peer-to-peer networking stuff allows you to do not just your videos, but videos from other sites, and you get a peer-to-peer relationship. That's nice. WordPress is in the early days of ActivityPub, but again, RSS is strong with WordPress. Customizing the look of PeerTube is pretty tough, and you do need to get into the deeper admin stuff to do that, and even add plugins and things like that. And also, the thing that I feared, PeerTube costs can rise quicker than a value CDN, what I call a value CDN, like WordPress and bunny.net. Okay, you can use the CDN with PeerTube, but that integration is going to need that technical know-how. So that could be something that you could use a Docker installation of PeerTube and then specify your bunny.net CDN to do that. So that is a possibility. All right. Conclusions. There are lots of moving parts with doing all this stuff, and it's been months of experimenting and getting the right solutions, and I feel like I've gotten a good 90% of what I wanted to do done. But there's obviously lots of gaps, and the gaps that I talked about were some of the early days of ActivityPub and RSS. Building a customized personal video website isn't that complicated, especially if you do just kind of a turnkey FediHost installation. Okay, you just might have to deal with some new concepts and new ways of configuring a website. More advances need to happen with ActivityPub. Like I said, there needs to be better following and subscribing and search for ActivityPub accounts. And maybe our RSS in combination with ActivityPub is going to be a way to go. WordPress may not be that turnkey solution, but its power and flexibility, just, you can't beat them. Okay. The other thing is WordPress can federate anything, and, you know, maybe not everything, or anything, but what it can do are the slides. And if you click on this link here, you will see that you'll go to these particular slides. But what happened in the background when I published this was that it federated the slides that I published. Let me just quickly go to my Mastodon account and show you. So here is, I published this here. This is the slide being federated to my Mastodon account. So I follow myself, and here's the slides. This is the time lapse that I published on AndyTube, my PeerTube instance, and I'll click on this one, and this is the video that I published to Andy's video pub. So all three of those were essentially federated just simply by publishing them and letting ActivityPub do its thing. So that is it for my presentation. I know we'll answer questions or take care of that stuff at some other time, but that is the presentation, and I'm on the web, so you can find me and ask any questions that you might have about how to do this stuff.
Andy, thanks for sharing your work. Actually, thank you for sharing your work with this stuff. You've been talking about it, blogging it, writing about it on Mastodon, and it's super exciting, especially that exploration part you're talking about and research. And I'm learning a lot just from this video, and there will be certainly conversation in the live chat. So everyone, let's give a big round of virtual applause for Andy. And I want to thank you again for presenting at Reclaim Open. Big fan.
Right back at you, baby. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
You got it.